Hey, how are you? My name is Felt, and welcome back to Destiny 2. Today, I'm going to be talking about weapon crafting. Now, Bungie just released in their latest TWAB that on this upcoming week, all vendors will have the red border that you can buy from them reset on the daily, making it so that you can get all the patterns you could want before the end of the season, as long as you just play the game enough. But what if you're a little limited on time and you think, oh, well, maybe I don't need all of them because I won't want to buy all of them? Well, that's what this video comes in. I'm going to be talking about what my picks are for weapons that you should probably focus to try and make sure you get their craftable versions so you can get the enhanced version of that gun. Keep in mind, this comes from the perspective of an endgame PvE player who is into raiding, dungeoning, soloing content, and all that stuff, so I won't really be taking PvP into account that much, and these are also my personal favorites and personal opinions, and so it might not always check out or be the same as other content creators out there, and that's fine. You might disagree with my opinions, but this is what I think you be looking into crafting in the upcoming weeks. I will also be including a section near the end talking about the weapons from Dares from Eternity, as well as all the raid weapons that you should be looking into getting, because, well, this is a video about weapon crafting. Why would I not talk about some of the better weapons to craft in the game? Regardless of all that, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and all that stuff, and let's hop right into it. War table weapons. These are first because, well, they're the first ones that were around. Personally, I don't really like most of these weapons, nor use most of them. There's really only one that is in my inventory regularly, but they are not bad weapons. So I will be talking about which ones I think are pretty okay. First and foremost, explosive personality. This is the one that actually stays in my inventory, but I am a huge waveframe grenade launcher enjoyer. I highly recommend it if you like waveframe grenade launchers. It does absolute work, and you can craft it to do exactly what you need it to do, either be ad clear, or be like ability regen, or just be like a backup in case of, oh, I need to kill something big. The other weapon I will really recommend the most is the Peace of Mind. The Peace of Mind is a great pulse rifle, super high rate of fire, can run overflow and adrenaline junkie, making it just really go ham in terms of being able to ad clear pretty effectively. Huge recommend. There are arguments for Thoughtless and Recurrent Impact. I don't like them. I don't think they feel very good. I don't think their scopes are very good. Hard pass. Sweet Sorrow is fine if you're an auto rifle user, but I think auto rifles are so bad it's probably even not getting unless Bungie reveals out of nowhere sweeping auto rifle changes, and then maybe. The bow's a bow. If you like bows, you don't need me telling you to get a bow, and if you don't like bows, you don't need me telling you to not get a bow. So yeah, bottom line, explosive personality, great stuff. Peace of mind, great stuff. Highly recommend those two. The four in the middle, pass. Okay, up next is the Crown of Sorrow gear. Stuff I super highly recommend is Callus Mini Tool. This thing is insane. It can roll Threat Detector and Incandescent, making it one of the better PvE SMGs, especially if you are an enjoyer of Solar 3.0 and you really like running builds around Scorch and Ignition. It does great work. It does drop down a little bit if you don't like those builds, but if nothing else, it is still a lightweight frame SMG that feels amazing to use. My other big recommend is Bump in the Night, because it can roll Field Prep Chill Clip, giving you tons of ammo off the get-go, and Chill Clip for DPS phases. Fun fact, if your team runs a Galahoin, Chill Clip is actually amazing because it will constantly trigger shatter damage on the boss by freezing them over and over and over again. You don't need like a full party of Chill Clips. I believe people have done some math to where a full party of Chill Clips can do slightly less damage than if some people are on like hotheads and stuff. But if you never got a good hothead, if you never got a good legendary launcher, Bump in the Night is a great thing to bring. You also don't even have to roll it with Chill Clip, but I still think Chill Clip is by far the best thing for it. Slightly lower tier, but still recommended for me, include Hollow Denial. I was still a big trace rifle enjoyer, even if I don't use them that much, and I'm a big trace rifle believer. I feel like trace rifles are actually in a pretty solid spot right now. Their ammo economy is pretty good, and they're surprisingly good at ad clear. However, this one does have the drawback of its first column is kind of just butts. Just a big old pile of butts. The second column is where it's at, as you can roll stuff like Killing Tally or Repulsor Brace, and you might think Repulsor Brace is a weird choice, but it works really well with the Hunter Gear Falcon build, so, recommend it because of that. The rest of these guns, I'm not a huge enjoyer of. I don't like Scout Rifles that much at the moment. This is a slow-firing one anyways. If you want a glaive, get the glaive. Me telling you about glaives is not going to change your mind one way or the other about them. It's a glaive. Get it if you want a glaive. Autos are bad, and this is a slow-firing one anyways. I can see the argument for Without Remorse. This thing can roll incandescent, so if you're looking for an ad clear shotgun, it is a lightweight frame with incandescent, so I can see it. However, not a huge fan. Beloved, it's mostly PvP sniper, I'm not gonna lie. It can roll 4 times the charm and rampage, making it a pretty decent energy slot sniper rifle if you so choose to get one. You can also roll box breathing and incandescent as other options in the second slot. It's okay, it's not great, but it's definitely usable in PvE if you want it. Austringer is good if hand cannons are good, and right now they're kind of not, but if they ever are, Austringer's going to be great. Outlaw Rampage with a perfectly crafted roll with enhanced versions of the perks, or Outlaw Frenzy or Outlaw Demolitionist. This thing, just top tier. Really though, get the mini tool, get the bump in the night, and then get like one other gun that you really choose. Those two are the big winners out of the Crown of Sorrow. Next up is the Star Chart. There's really only one gun that I truly recommend from here, and that is the No Reprieve. This thing can roll triple tap Focus Fury, which you're like, wait a minute, that's a shotgun. Yeah, but it's a slug frame shotgun. So triple tap Focus Fury, really, really good for DPS. You can also make sure you can perfectly craft it to get that assault mag and max range to make sure that you don't get any damage fall off while you're using it. Just so good. If there's ever a boss fight where slug shotguns are a viable DPS option, pull this bad boy out. You will be slapping. It's also stasis, so that if someone's running like Supreme Wellmaker, if that works the same way that it does in the future, we don't know yet because they're changing armor mods, but if it does work the same way in the future, if stuff like Supreme Wellmaker does exist, drop a well, bonus damage through Font of Might, go ham, right? If there is a similar system to that, that's how it works at the moment. Other stuff, I can't really recommend. The Scout Rifle is mid at best. The sidearm is a sidearm. It can roll Volt Shot, but we'll get to something that's just a better version of it in a bit. The LMGs, it's fine. It's not really great. There's better ones that you'll see in a bit. The SMG is good if you want a stasis SMG. It's better than the other option that you have at the moment, in my opinion. But it's fine. It's like the epitome of fine. You can make an argument for the linear fusion rifle here. However, it is just not as good as other linear fusions in the game, especially considering the Taipan exists. And the Taipan was, I believe, basically just given away to the whole community, which can roll triple tap firing line, which is just better. The best this can do is like rapid hit or clown cart, I believe, in the first slot, and then either focused fury or vorpal in the second, which just isn't as good as the other options. Those are much either harder to proc, or just aren't as much damage as other options out there, and it also doesn't have a way to basically refund ammo upon hitting consecutive precision hits, which leads to just higher DPS because you spend less time reloading. It's good if you really want to make it work inside like an arc build, and like it's a super bursty DPS phase, more like Golgoroth than like Oryx, but it's not super highly recommended. But if you really want that arc linear, go for it. However, if you can only get one gun from this, so you only want to have one gun from this, just get the No Reprieve. It's great. Okay, we're at the Exo Frame. This is probably going to be the longest section of the video for one particular vendor, because I recommend a lot of these weapons, and I think they're all very, very good. However, I will start by basically being like, all right, so if you can only get like 1 or 2 weapons, here's what I recommend the most. Number 1, Ikelos SMG. This thing is a workhorse monster. It can either be Feeding Frenzy or Feeding Frenzy Volt Shot for like ad clear, and it is just amazing as a result of that. Highly, highly recommend getting it and crafting it. Slap on those enhanced perks. This bad boy is just so strong. And funny enough, I'm going to recommend more than anything the Retrofit Escapade. If machine guns ever become meta, because of shifts in Lightfall or shifts way on down the road, this thing is going to be it. This thing will be the meta. 4 times the charm, amazing on something so high rate of fire. And target lock is actually pretty strong once it gets rolling, and if you're in a boss DPS situation where someone just has up the divinity bubble and you're allowed to just unload all your bullets, target lock is going to go off pretty hard and you're just not going to have to reload. This thing is an incredibly powerful heavy weapon, and if machine gun DPS is ever it, this will be it, but it's also pretty good at just melting stuff like champions, for example. This thing is typically my heavy weapon of choice when running tons of solo content because it will just rip through enemies because it just pours bullets and then target lock procs and it does more damage. Highly, highly, highly recommended. So if you're going to really only get 2 weapons, get those 2. Those are like my personal choices. However, other stuff that I think is pretty strong, Ikelos Shotgun, I think it's pretty good. If you like shotguns and if you want an incandescent shotgun, I probably recommend this more than the No Remorse from the other set. The Eclo Sniper is pretty good if you want a high rate of fire sniper for PvE purposes. Pretty okay. Fire and Forget is great if you never got a Reed's Regret and you want a linear fusion for your stasis build. It can roll Field Prep in the first column, which is nice. And then the second column, it can either be Focused Fury or Vorpal. Focused Fury can be kind of hard to proc because of the way that an aggressive burst frame works for linear fusions. But if you can get it to proc because it's like, you know, team DPS, someone has a divinity bubble up, it's pretty powerful. It also rolls Vice Stinger, which will have a really good chance of refunding your ammo back to magazine. Well, I believe it actually takes it from reserve. So let's go read the perk right now so neither of us make a fool of ourselves, dear viewer. It reloads the magazine, so it will pull in bonus ammo, which is why it's good that it has field prep, because it will pull that extra ammo back into the magazine. I don't quite know how it works with a 3-round burst, but I do know that it procs quite often when I use it. It's overall a pretty good replacement if you don't have a Reed's Regret. Highly, highly recommend it as a result of that. Listen, if you like bows and glaives, you're not going to listen to me recommend them or not recommend them. If you like bows and glaives, craft them. If you don't. It's kind of that straightforward. Things I do really like, though, is the Disparity Pulse Rifle here. Oh my goodness, this thing's great. Aggressive 4-round burst. It can roll Outlaw or Rapid in the first slot, and then roll, I believe, Frenzy, Kill Clip, and Headstone in the second slot. Oh my goodness, this thing is so many choices, so many options. It can also roll Desperado if you're a Desperado enjoyer. So, you know, use wisely. This thing is great. It has so many cool perk options, and it can fit into so many builds for so many reasons. I'm gonna be a Trace Rifle stan again. Path of Least Resistance is good. It can roll Volt Shot if you want to turn this into an Ad Clear machine, or you can go the triple tap Focused Fury route if you want to try and use this as a backup DPS weapon. I don't think that will be meta. I think you'd probably be better off having your backup DPS weapon be like an exotic primary, like say an Outbreak Prime or something like that, but just in case, this thing can do that if you want to have it as a backup weapon. All right, next we're going to be talking about raid weapons. Now, at the time of this video's release, it's probably the last day to farm Deepstone. So I guess, hey, if you didn't get these red borders already, go get him. You got, probably 12 hours from the time of this video releasing. Anyways, guns that I highly recommend, the Succession. Being able to have a Reconstruction-focused Fury roll can be really, really, really strong. Or maybe even just the Reconstruction recombination to get that, little baby Izanagi thing. Great gun. Heritage. You can do the exact same thing. Reconstruction-focused Fury. Both of these weapons are great, just DPS, burst DPS, boss weapons. Highly recommend getting both of them and getting them craftable ASAP. Next in line is the Trustee in Commemoration. Commemoration is great if you ever want an ad clear LMG. It can roll Reconstruction and Killing Tally, or Subsistence and Killing Tally, meaning that you can just have it out in your hands, mowing down enemies, and you'll probably never have to reload and basically always be able to keep up Killing Tally. They got rid of it when they got rid of that old Gambit LMG. The ability to just keep a weapon in your hands and Killing Tally the world, but hey. Who am I to complain if they're going to bring it back? Trustee, I actually really like this scout rifle. It's actually one of my favorite scouts, and by favorite, I mean it's one of the only ones I'll actually recommend on this list. It's really good. Rapid fire frames are actually pretty strong right now. You can also roll Reconstruction, which means that you can just have a massive magazine to fire from that will be auto-loading in your back pocket as you wait. And you can also put Incandescent on it. Listen, I know I'm an Incandescent fanboy, but if you're running a solar gun, you're probably trying to make it work in a Scorching style build. This gives you a little bit longer range option than the mini tool, and it's great. I don't really recommend the sword and hand cannon. The hand cannon's also a really big pain to farm, as it's from the longest encounter in the entire raid. The sword you might accidentally get as you try and get the LMG. If you do get it, it is actually an okay sword. But there is another sword that will be talked about in this video that I recommend a lot more if you end up farming for a sword. Vow of the Disciple. I recommend essentially everything from this raid except the glaive. I know that's not very helpful. I know. To be fair, if you don't have your crafted Vow of the Disciple weapons now, this is a great time to get them. as a lot of people will also probably be in the same boat of, I never got those last red borders from that raid. So you might be in a similar boat as other people, might be able to put some groups together for that, but I really recommend essentially every weapon from this raid. I will rank them though in orders of I recommend you get them in this order. Like number 1, I recommend you get the Cataclysmic. No matter what happens to the meta in terms of linear fusions getting buffed, nerfed, or whatever, the Cataclysmic is probably the best linear fusion rifle in the game. Bait and Switch and 4th Time's the Charm are just incredibly strong perks that synergize super well on this weapon, making it so that you can set up Bait and Switch and then shoot, I believe, 12 shots straight with the bonus damage. And it is just an incredibly powerful linear fusion rifle for any type of damage phases at all. Next thing recommended, it's a bit of a tie, but I'm personally going to say the Deliverance is the next thing I recommend you get. It can get Chill Clip on it, making it be just an insane ad control weapon, and it works really well in all builds, not just stasis builds, because it can also roll Demolitionist, making it really easy to keep that Chill Clip rolling. And Enhanced Demo and it is just, whoo boy, you get so much grenade energy back. This is a great fusion rifle. Being able to roll Chill Clip on it so that you can just AoE spray down and slow the world and potentially even freeze them is just really, really great. Speaking of AoE though, the Forbearance is the next in line, and that is because it can roll Ambitious Assassin and Chain Reaction, meaning that you can shoot a shot, explode the world, reload, get 2 shots, shoot 2 shots, explode the world, reload, and get 2 shots over and over and over again. It is an amazing special weapon for ad clear. Highly, highly, highly recommended. It's just one of those things where I am a huge Chill Clip enjoyer and valuer in the same way that a lot of people used to value blinding grenades very highly. Crowd control and higher end content can be really strong, and being able to just freeze something that's running you down or freeze a problematic enemy can be really, really nice. Submission and Insidious are both good, but they're both kind of tied for last place. Do you need a pulse rifle in the energy slot? Insidious, 4-round burst, rapid hit rampage, great stuff. Do you need an SMG in your kinetic slot because you just want to run I don't know, 4 Barons, or you have an exotic special weapon you want to run? Submission, Overflow Frenzy, great stuff, works really well. It's also a great primary because of the intrinsic trait on it, where you gain health based on the number of hits before reloading. Fun fact, that works on the explosions from 4 Barons, meaning that you shoot, you explode stuff with chain reaction, you reload, you will get a chunk of health back. It's really, really nice. The same does apply to Deliverance as well, mind you. King's Fall. I don't actually recommend that much from this raid. I don't think the weapons from it were that S tier. I think that there are use case scenarios for some of them. But there's really only one that I highly recommend, and that is the Zauli's Bane. That is because it is a solar hand cannon that can roll explosive payload and incandescent, or explosive payload and firefly. So it can either be your energy slot Fatebringer, literally, explosive payload Firefly, or it can be your energy slot Fakebringer with explosive payload and incandescent. It's really the only thing I hyper recommend out of this. Smite of Moraine, there is a use case for, if you like the adaptive frame pulse rifle in your kinetic slot, use it. However, there are just some really good kinetic slot pulse rifles out there. I've already mentioned 2 so far this video, so I can't really recommend this one as highly. It can roll Firefly, which does make it a bit more of an ad clear pulse rifle, which can make it compete with the other ones in a different way, but I don't recommend it that much. Midas Reckoning, Doom of Chelsea's Defiance of Yasmin, Kill 'em Terminus. They're fine. I just don't recommend them very much. They have unique roles that can make them pretty good. Their unique origin trait does kind of help them out a bit, because I believe Midas Reckoning can, for example, roll Reservoir Burst, which with something like Runneth Over means that you overflow the magazine, and that doesn't negatively impact your Reservoir Burst, meaning you can have 7 in the magazine and 3 full shots of Reservoir Burst go out, but I still don't think it's that great. I don't think it's worth the time investment to grind it. If you're going to grind one weapon from King's Fall, get the Zauli's Bane. It's just so freaking strong. It's so good. It's the only gun that I recommend highly. The rest are very mid. Okay, this last section is going to be a little messy because we don't have one clean screen to look at, because for some reason the 30th anniversary pack didn't have a badge or anything for us to look at. But we're going to be talking about the Dares of Eternity's weapons. They're all craftable at this point, and they're all very good. And I kind of recommend getting all of them if you possibly can. However, it can take a lot of Dares of Eternity grinding to get all of them. So I'm going to be talking about why I like each one of them, and you can probably make your own personal decisions from there. The XR5 Battler, or BXR55 Battler. I don't know why I always call it BXR5. I forget there's two fives. It's the battle rifle from Halo. If you like the Halo battle rifle, you're gonna love this thing. It feels very similar. And as far as Destiny goes, you can roll like, I believe Outlaw, Pugilist, and Demolitionist are all in the first slot, and the second slot has Kill Clip and Incandescent, which are just chef's kiss. So good. It's such a good pulse rifle. It's so consistent. It feels so strong to just run around and shooting. Highly, highly recommended if you just want a pulse rifle, especially one that is solar for your solar builds. You can tell that I haven't grinded enough yet, though, because I still don't have this gun done, the Pardon Our Dust. It is a great backup boss DPS weapon, having auto-loading holster and Vorpal weapon as an available role, so you can do spike nades, auto-loading, and Vorpal to make this thing really pop off. You can also do a ad clear version with Ambitious Assassin and then Adrenaline Junkie or Rampage in the second slot. You can also make it sure that it has blinding nades so that you can just be like, I'd rather run a blinding grenade launcher to really slow down the pace of battle. If you want to do that, go for it. It's a really solid grenade launcher. It rolls lots of good stuff, so it can fit into a lot of builds. And worst comes to worst, you can just like recraft it into something else that you want if the meta changes. It's never a bad thing to have. It is, as you can see, the only craftable kinetic grenade launcher in the game right now. So that is a pretty plus side for it in my book. The Wastelander is another one that I love this thing to death. I use it on my Arc Hunter punch build, run that hot Pugilist 1-2 punch build. But if you're not using it for that, you're probably not using it. It's not really a boss damage weapon. If you're using your shotgun for boss damage, you can see the other two things right next to it, the No Reprieve and the Heritage. The Wastelander is good for the 1-2 punch build, but that is about where its power ends. It can roll some really good stuff to make it just like a solid PvE shotgun. It's a lightweight frame, it does great in that, but personal opinion, this is the 1-2 punch. You're a hunter, you're Liar's handshake in the world, you're going off. I really recommend it for that. Trace rifles, it's Trace Rifle Boy coming back at you. Ooh, Trace Path is good. It can roll Incandescent in the second slot. It can roll a lot of good stuff. It's a really solid trace rifle, and if you're trying to run like a double special build where you have a trace rifle and then like a Wither Horde in your top slot, or like an Arbalest or an Izanagi's Burden, and your trace rifle is now your ad clear, it's great. It works great in solar builds. Like, as you can see, I recommend all three of these trace rifles, honestly. Legendary trace rifles are actually in a good spot right now. I swear, this is not copium. They're actually pretty good. Calling them boss damage and, like, backup DPS weapons is pretty copium, but they are really good at ad clear, and they can fit into double special builds pretty decently. I do recommend them for that. Now, swords. Believe it or not, the half-truths and the other half are actually really solid PvE swords. They have some really solid, powerful rolls you can get on them. They can basically be your perfect sword that you wish to run. But that's not why you're getting them. You're getting them because you want a sword with eager edge on it to fling your teammates across the map and make them die by slamming into walls at Mach 20. And you don't need me telling you to go get an eager edge sword to do that, but here's me giving you permission. If you want to get an eager edge sword, if you want to be that troll, if you want to be zooming across the map as fast as you possibly can, go get these. Go craft these. Go have fun. That's it. That's the video. That is all of my recommendations on all the crafted weapons that I thought were worth talking about. You might notice that I did leave out crafted weapons here and there. Like the Witch Queen crafted weapons, I don't recommend them that much. I don't think many of them are better than counterparts that you have that are also now much easier to farm. I did mention the Taipan earlier, but the Taipan does get its honorable mention here. I do believe they gave away the crafting pattern to that at some point. Triple tap firing line, go get it. Go get it yesterday. You probably already have it at the time this video is released, but here's your reminder in case you haven't. Great linear fusion rifle. Great if linear fusion rifles continue to be the DPS meta. Great for void builds. Just an overall solid weapon. Hopefully this video was helpful to you. I know it was probably a bit long, but I tried to make sure that I broke it down into sections so that if you just cared about going and looking at the weapons from one vendor in particular or one activity in particular, that I could help you decide on what you wanted. And hopefully my recommendations helped you out a bit. If you like this video, feel free to like it, comment, and subscribe, and all that stuff. If you really want to help out the channel, all that stuff is super cool. Regardless of how you feel about any of this at all, I hope to catch you in the next one.